Welcome to our presentation about starting your own fan project, featuring Miraculous Bonds and produced by Miraculous Fanworks. Hi, I'm Whimsical Wordsmith, the project leader in the Miraculous Bonds visual novel project. My job as project leader is to look over the work as a whole, try to make sure that all of the teams are communicating effectively, and basically just coordinating everyone into making the project happen. A lot of what I do also involves kind of the assembly part, making sure that it all works, figuring out what parts still need to be done. I'm also currently working as the coding team leader until we find someone who has a little bit more experience in coding. So the project came into existence mostly because we were joking around in another Miraculous Discord. Somehow we ended up on the topic of visual novels, and I happened to mention that I once made a short fan novel for something else, and then suddenly I had a whole bunch of people saying, "Oh yeah, if you do this, I will absolutely help you." And then suddenly I found myself in charge of a whole visual novel.
Hey there, I'm Yeti Please, aka Kat, and I work as the Promotions and Communications Director for the Miraculous Bonds project, as well as the writing team lead. From Promotions and Communications, I try to advertise our game in need for helpers via Tumblr. I also help create the collaboration we have with Miraculous Fanworks. As the writing team lead, I help guide our writers on how to write the scenes for various routes in the story. For the time being, we're focusing on getting the tutorial/demo out, and I can't wait to release it for everyone to play. We still have a ways to go, but the wait will be worth it for sure.
I am Lucky Lucy. I'm the art team lead of the Miraculous Bonds project. My role on this project is to oversee the art process. This includes illustrations of characters and backgrounds, user interface design, but also user experience design. While working on this project, I have obtained a master's degree in this field, and during my studies I didn't get a lot of opportunities to use my creativity for illustrated artworks. And this project finally gave me the chance to use my skills on a fun and inspiring project. It also turned out to be a great opportunity for learning about teamwork with different skill sets, organization of long-term projects, and communication with many different types of people.
Any kind of large-scale project is going to have several stages of development. There's a lot of different variations of this timeline, but we're going to go with these 4. And obviously you can break them up into different ways. Sometimes you'll find pre-production, for example, includes a separate concept phase where you're just throwing out ideas, but you can combine them into whatever arrangement suits your style best. In this particular version of the project timeline, we have the pre-production, where you come up with the initial idea and outline your concepts that will be important to the later project. Then we come to the production phase, which is where you get to work, basically. You find your resources, you make the assets, you put it all together. Everything you make in this phase should be functionally complete, although you will still have to do some polish later, which leads us into the post-production phase. This is where you're going to do any bug testing, editing, proofreading. You're going to just make it look nice. You're going to make sure it's the quality that you are expecting from this project. And the last phase of the project timeline is going to be publication. You're going to share it, promote it, and celebrate your hard work because you created a whole project. So this leads us into the first stage of the pipeline, pre-production. Here you come up with the initial idea and outline your concepts. This is the stage where most of your planning is going to be done. because you don't want to be distracting yourself from creating the final assets and all of the final product when you're in the actual production stage. You want to have everything perfectly laid out so that you can just get to work when it comes to production time. So for writing, you're probably going to want to make an outline of what's going to happen in the story. For a art project, you're going to probably want to come up with thumbnails, animations. You're going to want to have full storyboards. And for a game, you're going to want to have prototypes and a clear idea of what the final product is going to look like. So that's likely going to include having a finished script, concept art for anything that you're going to see in the game, including the user interface, and storyboards for any cutscenes. Basically, you want to know exactly what it's going to look like, minus the final assets.
In order to create a fan project, you need to have an initial idea. Miraculous Bonds started because there was a simple discussion made in the Miraculous Subs Discord server. The idea of there being a Miraculous Ladybug visual novel was brought up, and Whim stated she had worked on a visual novel project before. After some more discussion and planning, Whim found herself being the leader for this project. Soon, there was an art team lead, Lucy, then an animation team lead, Sushi. Shortly after, one of the writing team leads, Angel, who's my counterpart that focuses on the Marinette route for the game. Whim then told people to DM her if they were interested, and since I found the conversation later, I asked to join, and then we had our second writing team lead that focused on Adrian's route. A simple conversation in 2019 has led to the progress we've made on this game today. Of course, visual novels and video games aren't the only things you can use this presentation for. For instance, zines have become more popular in the Miraculous fandom. According to Sibby from the Miraculous Fanworks server, the best thing you can do for planning a zine is to over-prepare. Anything that can be made beforehand, applications, letters, graphics, any of it. Do it before you ever release an interest check, she said. After all, it's best to be prepared for when things don't go as planned. Teaming up with friends is also another great way to plan out a fan project. According to Mia Brown, one of the founders of the Miraculous Big Bang Project, they teamed up with their friends to organize the event and make it happen. They had the idea to encourage the fandom to create more content, and now they're in their second year of hosting the event. Of course, not everyone may be able to start their own events from scratch. In that case, joining a fan project may be the way to go. For instance, writing and art exchanges are a great opportunity to create and make someone happy, as stated by Nightshade. There are many fan communities that host their own events that you can join. The Miraculous Fanworks Discord server hosts different events every month for the server. The artwork shown here was made by Bex during a server exchange event. Search for a community that works for you. Finally, another great way to think of an initial plan for a fan project is to work with what you know. Cass from the Miraculous Fanworks server had written her own Choose Your Own Adventure fanfics in the past, but with the help of the server she was able to write an interactive story that's held on the Miraculous Fanworks Discord and social media sites.
Now it's time to start setting goals for your project. You're going to want to brainstorm, create an outline, and decide on deadlines to accomplish goals. So the brainstorming phase can have a lot of different forms. For Miraculous Bonds, we decided to use a program that sort of simulates a bulletin board, poster board with post-it notes, and started coming up with ideas in a voice call and just kind of throwing things at the wall, seeing what stuck, until we had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to do. Then we created an outline of the overall gameplay. You tend to start with a general outline, and then you, from there, can get into the finer details. Once you've got everything outlined, you're going to want to set deadlines, because otherwise you're not going to really progress. You need to have structure, or nothing's gonna happen. Though with fan projects, because it is normally a volunteer effort and people are doing this in their own time, you're going to want to have flexible deadlines, but you're still going to want to have a goal to aim for.
Storyboards are a way to visualize your ideas so the other members of your project can follow your thoughts more easily. For example, if you want to animate a video, if you want to draw a comic, or if you need some sort of scenery for other reasons, scribbling a storyboard with notes is a good way to plan the order of events and how the scene should be arranged in the end. A prototype is also a great method to test your ideas. The word prototype doesn't just apply to video games or other types of software. If you create a paper dummy of a design or another product, you can call that a prototype too. Essentially, this method is used to see how realistic your expectations are. And in the process of making the prototype, you may find new problems which need to be solved later. After you laid the groundwork with your ideas and plans, you get to finally do the artsy stuff. Depending on the type of project you're working on, you need to make several design choices. If you need some type of layout, like in a zine, you may want to think about what kind of feeling you want to portray with your design. For example, Marinette's belongings are usually designed with a shade of pink and some cute patterns like polka dots and apple flowers. Should your design be cute like Marinette? Or more modern and cool and sporty like Adrian? Other layout methods include creating a grid with the help of the golden ratio. There are great tutorials out there which explain layout design in detail. For any illustrative work, you may need to create a certain art style which you may want to stick to. A game, video, or comic would need consistency in the way characters are drawn. Developing an art style requires many iterations of sketches and fully colored drawings of different characters with different body and facial shapes, so your fellow artists know how to design other characters according to your style. When you know what art style or design identity your project will have, you will have an easier time to find out what kind of skill sets you are looking for in your future artist members. So definitely do these preparations before you invite dozens of new people to participate in your project. Next up, we'll be talking about the production process. The two key components of this stage are getting work done and finding resources for your project. Your project needs assets in order to appear as a finished product. After you're done with lots of scribbles, sketches, and brainstorming, you'll eventually reach the phase where you're ready to create artworks and other assets for your final goals. Assets include all types of media which are needed to be put together in the end to produce your desired type of content. Your zine, game, or other media may need a logo or several types of symbols which may need to be created by your members. Interfaces, graphics, and layouts also need to be finalized. And of course, all the illustrations that appear in the final version need to be drawn or painted within the production phase.
If your fan project is large, then recruiting help is an important resource to find. Advertise your project wherever you think you can get people who may be interested in helping out. Friends, family, online communities, look at your options. And don't be discouraged if you can't find the amount of help you need and your project deadlines fall behind. There's no race in making fan projects. Remember, the only person who can make your idea come to life is you!
With a fan project, you're probably not going to have the time or resources to make all of what you need by yourself. And that's why it's important to research different sources, because there are royalty-free assets out there. You can find some clip art, fonts, music, if you search for it. So what you're going to want to do is find those royalty-free assets. You can add royalty-free to your search on Google and YouTube, and here are some extra sites that may be beneficial. But you also need to really pay attention to license regulations because some of them have some special restrictions. For example, music from the YouTube library is restricted to videos on YouTube. And some fonts, including Google Fonts, are only meant for personal use. Sometimes it's a little tricky over what counts as commercial versus personal, but if you're even a little bit hesitant, it's probably best to be safe and err on the side of caution.
Post-production. The third step of the project timeline is the post-production work. This includes bug testing and polishing up the project to make sure it's ready to share.
Now comes time to review your work. Most bugs and errors should be removed during production, but it's important to do a final quality check, because there's always going to be things you miss. This is your last chance to iron out as many bugs as possible. When making a game, it's important to review the code and report errors. Now it's time to get feedback. You want to preview your work with friends. If you're writing, look for a beta. Making art, share the draft with other artists to get advice. Mixing audio, have someone listen to let you know if it rendered properly. And if you're unsure how the project would be perceived, ask for feedback.
You've reviewed your work, you've gotten your feedback, and now it's time to put on the final touches. The polishing phase requires you to make sure whatever you're creating is up to your standards. Finishing those shades and highlights for that art piece? Reading over that fic one last time before submitting? Once you're satisfied with how your project looks, it's time to move on into the final stage. Publication.
This process is pretty straightforward. First, you have to share it.
Then you promote it.
And finally, you celebrate getting it done.
Now, once everything is done, you get to show your achievements. Share the final product with your friends and family and post it where it's appropriate to share to. Just get it out there and make it public.
Social media is where a lot of people are going to be looking for this kind of thing. So whatever social media you use, promote your work there.
Congratulations! It's time to celebrate accomplishing a job well done. And now you get to decide, what's next? Will there be a continuation for your project, or are you ready to start on something new? Whatever you decide, remember to follow the 4 Ps of the project planning process, and you'll continue to finish your fan projects just fine.
Thanks for watching our presentation!
Good luck on your projects!
We wish you much success on whatever fan project you decide to create.
By the way, if you want to join our project, we're still looking for more artists to join our team.
And don't forget to check out the Miraculous Fanworks Discord server. We're always welcoming new members.
If you're interested in checking out the Miraculous Bonds visual novel project, you can follow us on miraculousvn.tumblr.com. And if you want to help this game get published soon, feel free to apply and join our team.
Before human civilization began, beings of great power were born out of pure concepts. These beings, called Kwamis, each embody an idea. The most powerful of these beings are Tiki, the Kwami of creation, and Plague, the Kwami of destruction. Long ago, powerful sorcerers bound many of the Kwamis to pieces of jewelry called the Miraculous, allowing humans to wield their power. If anyone were able to wield both the Miraculous of creation and the Miraculous of destruction, they could grant any wish, for a price. A man calling himself Papillon has begun hunting for the Miraculous in order to use their power to make a wish, terrorizing Paris in the process. In order to combat his villainy, I entrusted 2 young people with the Miraculous of creation and destruction. They became Ladybug and Chat Noir, the heroes of Paris.